This is the Neumann U87 microphone. Let's talk about it, and let's talk about getting it serviced. It's a really excellent microphone and an expensive microphone. I have a pair of these, but you haven't seen me use them very much lately. There are some reasons for that. It's a bit overkill. Maybe it's like driving a Lamborghini to the grocery store. You don't need the extreme performance. You'd be concerned if it might get damaged in the parking lot, and it's not really best suited for the task. For these YouTube videos, I have other mics that are perfectly good for a fraction of the price. And although the U87 is an excellent microphone, it may not be the best choice for this situation. A large diaphragm studio condenser microphone like this can accurately pick up every little nuance of sound, including all of the acoustical problems in my uncontrolled room. In a real studio, these mics can really shine, but in a poorly controlled room, they will reveal the problems. So, should you get a U87? Well, if you want one and budget is no issue, sure, go for it. However, if you want a really good vocal microphone, there are some other excellent options at a much lower price. There may be mics that sound as good or better for your particular voice at a lower price. So I'd suggest, as always, you try before you buy microphones. But it's hard to go wrong with the U87. It has a certain sound that just works great on many people's vocals, and it also works excellent on a wide range of instruments. The Neumann TLM 103 sounds different than the 87, but it's also a great choice for many people. A large diaphragm Neumann studio mic will give you some bragging rights if that's important to you. Now, if you're a serious studio owner, having one or more U87s in your collection is almost a requirement since it's such an iconic mic that many clients may ask for it by name. The vintage U87s and the more modern U87 AI versions look and sound darn near identical, assuming both mics are in good condition. The newer versions do have a higher output level, so you don't need quite as much preamp gain. I don't consider this to be a big issue. Both mics are excellent and about equal in my opinion. Personally, I wouldn't pay a large premium for the older versions, especially one that might have a thin layer of years of contaminants on the capsules. But some people do seek the vintage models. Of course, I have some nostalgia for my particular mics, but I accept that the new ones are probably just as good sounding. So this is an icon, an excellent mic, if it's working properly. And that's the biggest reason why I haven't used these microphones lately. I just didn't think that mine were working correctly. They just didn't sound quite right to me, and sometimes I'd have signal cut out. It was sad to have such great mics that weren't performing right, so it was time for them to get checked out. The microphones I have here were manufactured in 1970. These are vintage U87s, and they're over 50 years old. So over that time, the precision electronics can degrade, the microphone capsules can get a buildup of contaminants on them, and this impacts the microphone performance. So like many of us over the age of 50, these mics needed to go see the doctor for a tune-up. Not surprisingly, but unfortunately in my case, that turned out to be a significant refurb for them both. So I want to tell you about my experience getting these mics back to new performance. The question is, who do you go to for service on a vintage Neumann microphone? This is not the kind of work that any electronic repair shop can do. It's as delicate as working on a Rolex, maybe even more so since you need to be familiar with electronics, and in particular, these microphones. You need somebody who has the connections to get the correct OEM parts, except no substitutes. You want somebody who knows what these mics are supposed to sound like and can truly make them like new again. There aren't many people in the world who can do this. The obvious answer would be to send these microphones back to Neumann, and that's probably a good choice. Neumann is now part of Sennheiser, and Sennheiser Repair has a good reputation. My concern with sending the mics back to Sennheiser for repair was that I don't know who's going to be working on my mic. It could be somebody who's been there for many years and is extremely familiar with the product and is a master artist with these units. Or the factory could assign the new guy to work on it. I'd like them to be handled by a seasoned expert, and I want to be able to talk with the actual person who does the service. A concern is that the factory service might just see my precious mics as just another unit, and they might not get the kind of attention and detail that I desire. Having said this, I'm sure that Sennheiser would have done a great job. There are a few independent people who are known for servicing these microphones. From reading many discussions on the internet, there is one guy in Europe and one or maybe two in the USA who seem like they really know what they're doing and have a good reputation. Some have great reputations. Some folks have been accused of making dubious modifications and having arrogant opinions about how these mics should have been designed instead. And maybe their modded U87 is better, but this mic and the way that the factory made it is an icon, and probably for good reason. And then worse yet, there are some repair people who have been accused of disappearing people's expensive microphones. It's an exercise in trust to send many thousands of dollars of delicate mics plus a big payment across the country to somebody you don't know. So after researching my options, looking at internet discussions, I decided to have the microphone serviced by Tom Onofrio. Tom is in the USA on the East Coast, and he has a reputation of being one of the world's experts on the Neumann microphones. He was one of the service experts who worked at Neumann factory repair for decades, so I figured that he was very familiar with how the factory serviced and built these microphones. He's probably worked on more Neumann microphones than just about anybody. He can repair other mics, but he focuses almost exclusively on Neumann products. Now he works independently, and a lot of studios and big-name artists use him for Neumann service. Many folks said his work is outstanding, his prices are reasonable, and his turnaround time was really fast. That sounds good. That was almost, but not precisely, my experience. I'll tell you about my experience. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell to be notified of new videos when they come down. Okay, I sent the mics to Tom overnight. The next day he contacted me and gave me an estimate. He told me that both mics needed a serious overhaul, and the price was significant. I think his pricing is reasonable considering the scarcity of his talent and the fact that OEM Neumann parts are simply expensive, and some are hard to source. There were some things, especially as a first-time customer, that I think Tom could improve in his customer service. From prior customer comments, I expected a turnaround time of a couple or a few weeks. It actually took over 2 months to get this repair accomplished. Now that's okay. I just would have been more comfortable if he had told me up front it's a 2 to 3 month turnaround time. I know he's one guy, he's busy with lots of incoming work, and he did mention he was particularly busy at this time. Our mics are like our precious little babies in surgery, so it's nice to be kept up to date. I would have appreciated an occasional update just saying, I've got 7 jobs ahead of you, 4 jobs, hey, I'm working on your mics now, etc. He's a nice guy, but he's not overly chatty, and as the weeks passed, I was wondering about the status of things. After a couple of months, I had occasional thoughts, hoping there wouldn't be a problem and have this become a forever adventure. It would have been an expensive loss. But fortunately, Tom is an honest guy, and there was no problem. When I did communicate with him, he always promptly replied, but usually he never gave me a solid ETA time. When the mics were done, he packed them very well and shipped them back. I asked him to ship via UPS expedited, but instead he shipped FedEx, and worse yet, FedEx ground, and over a weekend. The word microphone was in his return address on the box. This made me nervous. This is a really high-value package rolling around in the shipping company for a few days. I think all the shipping companies do a good job, but I've had some serious delays and package damage from FedEx during the last year, so I'm a bit more partial to UPS. With a high-value package, I think it's a good idea to ship via overnight and to avoid shipping over a weekend. This is one package I just did not want to get lost in the system. But fortunately, all went well with its delivery. So I just got the mics back, and they look and sound like new. I think he did an excellent job. He also included all of the old parts that were replaced, so there's no doubt that he did exactly the work that needed to be done. So I'm really pleased to have these microphones working again, and I think sending them to Tom was a good move. The fact that the microphones were referred by Tom actually increases their value because of his reputation for making Neumann mics perform like new or better than new. It's almost like having a certificate of calibration. So, it took more time than I expected, and it was more expensive than I was hoping for, but the mics now look and sound excellent, just like new. Tom did fantastic work, and it's work that I could not have done myself, and I'm grateful. It's now 2023, and Tom's been repairing Neumann microphones for decades. How much longer he will do this, I have no idea, but as long as he's available, he's my go-to for Neumann mic repair. So if you have Neumann microphones that have issues, I recommend sending them to Tom. Here is his contact info. If you're interested in purchasing a new Neumann microphone, I'll put some links down below. If you choose to purchase a product through one of the provided links, it helps support this channel at no additional cost to you. Thank you for watching this video. Your support by subscribing, liking, commenting helps me create content, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.